money, all right? And if you talk about politics, right? If you talk about Wall Street, finance, they're going to come after you. Who else did you say other than
politics and finance? Yeah.
Okay.
Politics and finance.
But and then we saw what happened with Andrew Tate. He started talking about that.
Ooh,
right?
what was he talking? He was talking about
all
politics,
that, about the Matrix and the system and the world government order, and the Matrix canceled him, and it was,
I think Tate's
Control
thing,
Alt Delete.
I don't know. I think Tate's because he's clearly a smart and thoughtful guy, and he's quite funny too. But I think his miscalculation was he was playing up a character as comedy, as funny people do. I mean, we all do it. We play up we'll say certain things on this podcast right now for jokes that are not really real. But if somebody went, "Hey, did you really feel that way?" I'd be like, "No, you idiot. We're joking around because we're 4 guys in a room busting balls. I don't really think Malik is the black guy."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just said that. But the tricky thing with Andrew, and I think the miscalculation was, his business was tied to those things being his actual beliefs and truths. He's getting $5 million a month for Hustlers University, and it's tied to him actually speaking these things as truths. And I saw him, I think it was on like Piers Morgan. He's like, "Yeah, I wish I could have maybe redone it or like delivered it in a different way." But the thing is, the more salacious you go, the more attention you get, the quicker you get. I think he could have gotten there the same place he's at now, just at a slower trajectory. He would have gotten there, but it wouldn't have been so meteoric. But yeah, I think that's really it. It's like he can't say, "I didn't believe any of that stuff," because then you lose all that money that's coming in based on those beliefs.
Do you think he's going to fight Jake Paul?
If I'm him, I wouldn't.
Why? Because if he loses, it kind of loses the whole shtick?
I don't think he loses the shtick because I think he's smart enough to think of a way around it, like the bravery of just going in there. I respect any guy who gets in the ring. I mean, it's if you ever box or anything like that, this is the real deal. Like, a lot of people talk a lot of shit, they don't want to get in there. So I respect him for actually doing that in general. But Jake is a beast, bro. A lot of people don't want to. Jake is a beast. Jake will fuck up most boxers. He will fuck up most MMA guys. I mean, I think we've already proven that.
In a boxing match.
In a boxing match. Not MMA.
Yeah.
And I think he'd be the first person to say, I'm not beating any of these guys in MMA. This is what their expertise is. But he's taking it seriously. And then I imagine Tate, who's probably in his 30s, right? Mid-30s?
35, 36, yeah.
Yeah, he probably hasn't fought in a few years. That is a whole transition in life to go do something to prove what? You were already a world champion kickboxer. What do you prove by beating Jake? Maybe you get a payday. Maybe it's... I think there's a number amount. Okay, let's say you get $5 million. Let's say you get $10 million. Is it worth it? I don't know what the guy's worth. But if you got $100 million or whatever, maybe he's saying he got in the bank. Is it worth it for 5? Is it worth it to train for 6 months? Your rotator cuff's fucked up. Your eye already has issues. Is that worth it for 5? Or could you take those 6 months and apply yourself to another business and make 5? I don't know. What would you do?
I think you're right. I don't think he should fight him. I don't think he should fight. By the way,
and I don't want to take money out of Jake's pocket because I fuck with Jake. I love him. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I think Jake is. I put him in a top 5 best troll shit talkers in the game. It's and he goes up against people above him, and he hangs. It's not like he's calling out people below him, bullying. He goes up and he can go up against anybody. Yeah. No, I don't think Tate wins here. Whether he wins or not. Okay, let's just say Tate fights and he wins. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? If Tate fights and he wins, what changes?
You're a world champion kickboxer.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. But if Jake goes and he wins, what do you think Jake, and more importantly, what does Logan say? My younger brother.
Beat the shit out of you. The guy that talks mad shit about me.
Listen, I don't think you do this fight. I don't think it's necessary. I think this whole thing is plenty. Outside of this, I don't think you do the fight.
And you're already coming back. You've seen, listen, there are guys who get canceled.
Yeah.
They don't have the chops to come back.
Yeah.
He's got the chops. He can speak to intellectuals and defend himself pretty well. There's some certain things that they'll kind of pigeonhole him into, and he's just got to go all right, I said something that was fucked up. I shouldn't have said it. But he can hang. So all he needs to do is continue doing what he's doing now, and then he just has to turn down the dial a few degrees. And it's not going to be as funny. It's not going to be as salacious, but it doesn't need to be because he's already established the name. and then he can continue riding that out. He's actually has interesting things to say. He just said some wild shit that if he was a comedian, we would all laugh at
100%.
and not question.
100%.
Okay, I had a joke back in the day that it was one of the first things that actually like started my career. It went viral on Reddit on Super Bowl Sunday. I remember it happening, and it was countries that treat women the worst have the best food.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
and it was this whole long bit about like nobody's ever went out to say like you want to have Canadian tonight, like no whatever. It's like the more women, you know, you're like stay in the kitchen, the better the food comes out of the kitchen, right? And this bit, this like long crafted bit, I put it out and it went viral on Super Bowl Sunday. I'm a comedian. If there was a person who was literally making the argument that that's how we should treat women so food tastes better, you'd be like, this guy's a fucking psychopath, right? And then if they made a lot of money off of that and they had to stick to that, it's a really awkward position. But when you're a comedian, you're going, hey, I was just being entertaining and like playing with things that happen to be true and are correlated, but might not be like causality. And you get away. It's kind of fun. I almost wish Tate could be like, dude, I'm a comedian, but I also say really kind of insightful things, so we could still get the fun shit.
That's the card of a comedian. You see, it's like I almost want to go do a couple, and then put amateur comedian, and then from there comedian. You know,
you're good. Anytime you say anything fucked up, you're like, I was being a comedian.